And welcome to This Is Now. President Trump says Ukraine needs to move quickly to agree to a ceasefire and a peace deal. This as Russia escalates its attacks. Erica Brown has more from the White House.
Ukrainian firefighters worked to put out the flames after a drone strike hit this house in the Odessa region. The Ukrainian Air Force said Russia launched at least 58 missiles and nearly 200 drones overnight targeting energy facilities.
Right now, they're bombing the hell out of Ukraine.
President Trump had this message for Russia on social media Friday. I am strongly considering large-scale banking sanctions and tariffs on Russia until a ceasefire and final settlement agreement on peace is reached. Despite the threat, Trump says he thinks Russia is ready to negotiate.
I've always had a good relationship with Putin. And, you know, he wants to end the war. He wants to end it. And I think he's going to be more generous than he has to be.
After last week's derailed meeting with Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky, the administration is planning talks with Ukrainian officials in Saudi Arabia next week. Friday, President Trump also had more to say about tariffs against key U.S. trading partners. He acknowledged consumers could feel some temporary disturbance as he threatened Canada with reciprocal tariffs on dairy and lumber products.
Canada has been ripping us off for years on tariffs for lumber and for dairy products. 250%. Nobody ever talks about that. 250% tariff. Which is taking advantage of our farmers.
The administration is also expanding its efforts to slash the size of the government. The Department of Homeland Security announced Friday it is ending a collective bargaining agreement that provided union protections to TSA workers. Erica Brown, CBS News, the White House.
And a federal judge is blocking President Trump's funding freeze, saying the White House cannot put itself above Congress. It's a win for attorneys general from Hawaii and more than 20 other states who sued to stop the cuts. This frees up billions of dollars in grants meant for nonprofits, schools, and local governments. Another judge today separately ordered the Trump administration to restore billions of dollars in funding to foreign aid groups.
I personally am very, very excited. When I took this job, I had no idea that this would be a part of what I was doing.
The Republicans have the White House, the Senate, and the House. They're simply implementing the agenda that the people elected them to do, and that is to cut waste in government, to severely shrink the size of government.
The Trump administration is appealing other rulings that blocked his orders, including birthright citizenship, Elon Musk's attempt to access tax data, and limits on research funding. Government data out today shows U.S. hiring notched a 50th consecutive month of growth in February, and wage growth is up. Kelly O'Grady explains the latest jobs report.
It might not be burning a hole in your pocket, but your money is going further. The Labor Department reports average annual wages were up 4% in February, a full percentage point ahead of the inflation rate. CBS News business analyst Jill Schlesinger.
That extra money can help people replenish their savings accounts. It can also give them the opportunity to pay down debt.
Holding steady, the economy added 151,000 jobs last month. Unemployment ticked up just slightly to 4.1%. But some foreshadowing in February's report. The federal government lost 10,000 jobs as the Trump administration started shrinking the federal workforce.
We had too many people in government. You can't just do that. We had many, too many. This is for 40 years. You know, this isn't just now.
Liv Alvarado was let go from the IRS in Kansas City.
They were just like, hey, come in tomorrow and turn all your stuff in. You're no longer with us.
A report from Challenger tracked more than 62,000 announced job cuts by the federal government last month, affecting 17 different agencies. Economists don't expect the full impact of those layoffs to show up until the March jobs report.
A healthy jobs market offers potential for the private sector to absorb out-of-work federal employees. Kelly O'Grady, CBS News, New York.
Dozens of hotel workers rallied this morning demanding wage increases, job security, and increased staffing. They're employed by the Modern and Ilikai hotels. About 200 staff members there have been working without a contract since last year. They're asking for the same contract 10 other Waikiki hotels agreed to at the end of last year. Bargaining sessions are scheduled for later this month. A new video of a crash in Kailua last night that partially shut down portions of Kalanianaole Highway. Responders arrived to debris strewn across the roadway. A 65-year-old man was sent to the hospital in serious condition. And we have footage from a driver who was following the car that crashed. The driver swerved completely off the road several times and at one point went through a red light, nearly hitting another vehicle. Outbound lanes on the highway were closed while the wreckage was cleaned up. They are reopened this morning. H&N investigates an apparent housing error that may have led to the death of an inmate at Hawaii's largest jail. Our Allison Blair found out the suspect in last month's murder should have been moved out of OCCC weeks prior to the killing.
Department of Corrections policy states after sentencing, all felons are to be transferred to Hokule'a Correctional Facility for an assessment to determine where they should be placed and what programs they might need. But records show in this case, that's not what happened.
In the early morning hours of February 5th, 33-year-old Eric Scotton was found beaten to death inside his cell at the Oahu Community Correctional Center. The suspect, a cellmate, who according to the rules shouldn't have been there. Attorney Eric cites.
The fundamental constitutional principle is you can't house pretrial confinees with sentenced inmates.
According to the Honolulu prosecutor's office, the suspect, Vance Wynn, is a convicted robber who had been sentenced to 10 years behind bars on January 16th, nearly 3 weeks prior to the killing.
Typically, the sentenced inmates, as soon as they get sentenced, are sent to different facilities where they are only with other sentenced inmates.
UPW union boss Kaleni Warner describes the process.
As soon as the paperwork comes in and it shows you're a sentenced felon, staff immediately goes to the housing unit, yanks that individual out of the housing unit and puts them into the maximum control unit. And they're housed there by themselves for the night until the next morning where the next transferred bus can take them straight up to Hokule'a.
The prisons in Hawaii don't have the staffing and the capacity to do right away what they should do.
As of November, OCCC was down more than 430 adult corrections officers. That accounts for more than a quarter of the workforce.
It doesn't surprise me that there was a lag or a lapse.
We asked Department of Corrections officials about the rules and why Wynn wasn't transferred. In an email, a spokesperson said the Department of Corrections and Rehabilitation cannot comment on the February 2025 OCCC case due to the active investigations by the Department of Law Enforcement and the Honolulu Police Department.
H&N Investigates was tipped off to this story by viewers like you. If you have a story you'd like us to look into, email us at hnninvestigates@hawaiinewsnow.com. Allison Blair, Hawaii News Now.
Well, can you believe it? Aloha Friday is here. We're almost to the weekend. The main thing we're talking about throughout the rest of this weekend is going to be breezy trades and a better chance for some showers out there. Just taking a look outside right now, overall northeasterly flow. Easterly flow in town around 17 miles per hour. Weaker over on Hawaii Island. And our maximum wind gusts over the last 24 hours in town, 29 miles per hour, but relatively strong over Lanai and also over on Kauai, around 39 mile per hour wind gusts. So relatively breezy out there, and that's going to continue going forward as well. You can take a look at our first alert radar and satellite outside. You see over the last 4 hours a good chunk of moisture moving across the island chain, but zooming in over Oahu over the last hour, we have dried up and we're expecting nice weather going forward. I'll give you a further breakdown on this in my full forecast coming up.
Thank you very much, Drew. Well, coming up, the legendary Hokule'a is now on her way to windward Oahu for her 50th anniversary celebration. A look at the voyaging canoe leaving Sand Island this morning. And a special send-off for a Big Island educator after 40 years of teaching. More. This is now straight ahead. Well, we are less than 24 hours away from the 50th anniversary celebration of Hokule'a. The sound of oli and a pule accompanied the legendary vessel's send-off from Sand Island this morning. She is on her way to Mokapu, where she'll dock overnight. Then early tomorrow morning, the voyaging canoe will make its way to her birthplace, Kualoa Hakipu. Crew members of the Hokule'a are gearing up for the festivities, including a sailor from Japan. Mahealani Richardson has more.
Aloha, konnichiwa. I'm Hokule'a crew Tomokioku from Japan National Institute for Sea Training.
That was in 2015 when Hokule'a crew member Tomoki Oku left Bali and was anchored off Cocos Keeling Islands.
I really respect Hokule'a and I really admire the fact Hokule'a lasted for 50 years.
Oku sailed with Hokule'a in Japan in 2007.
A team of Hokule'a needed me because I'm very familiar with Japanese ocean. So I helped the voyaging between Okinawa and Kumamoto. I was so inspired by the cruise on Hokule'a.
He's looking forward to reconnecting with the crew again, possibly in 2027, when Hokule'a is scheduled to visit Japan once again on Moananui-a-Kea, the Pacific-wide voyage.
We are also surrounded by the ocean, but in Japan, I feel like there are less opportunities to think about ocean for Japanese people, and less opportunities to connect with the ocean. So this can be a really nice opportunity for Japanese people to reconnect with the ocean and recall who we are.
Traditionally, Polynesians are not known to have voyaged to Japan, but one goal of the 2007 voyage was to commemorate the trip by King David Kalakaua to the island nation in 1881.
Thank you very much, Mahea. And the public is invited to Hokule'a's 50th birthday commemoration on Saturday at Kualoa Regional Park. You can also watch on K5 starting with sunrise at 7 a.m., then live coverage from 9 to 11 in the morning. And later, our news special at 7 p.m., A Canoe is Born. Hokule'a shows the 1975 film documenting her launch. Well, a long time and treasured tradition returns to Waikiki this weekend with the 29th annual Honolulu Festival. A look at the jam-packed slate of events. How's it, Drew?
Coming up after the break, I'll walk you through our first alert weather headlines. Breezy winds and trade wind showers are sticking around. The details after the break.
First Alert weather with Drew Davis.
Well, happy Aloha Friday, everybody. What we're expecting this weekend, of course, we've been talking about breezy trade winds over the past couple of days, but also better chance for showers, especially this weekend and also the beginning of next week. I want to take you outside to our hour-by-hour forecast. This is our new Kapolei tower cam. You can see east winds around 17 miles per hour in town, 82 degrees for a temperature outside right now at the airport. And expanding this out throughout the rest of this evening, you'll notice we're going to be seeing really nice weather. Sun is in the sky today. A little bit of cloud cover right now that should be dissipating as we're going into the rest of this afternoon. And you can see our temperatures also getting down to the low 70s by the time we get to around midnight tonight. Taking a look at your island by island forecast outside, starting out on the Garden Isle for your Saturday. Over on Kauai, scattered showers, partly sunny conditions, but I want to remind you to take a look at those wind speeds. It's going to be gusty out there tomorrow. On Oahu, some wind gusts closer to 30 miles per hour. That's true for Kauai as well. 81 for a high temperature in town tomorrow. Most of that rainfall that we've been seeing and these strong winds have been helping cool us off ever so slightly. Maui County, scattered showers, mostly sunny. Wind gusts again around 30 miles per hour. 83 in Kihei for a high temperature tomorrow. In the Kona side of Hawaii Island, spotty showers and foggy conditions expected. 78 in Hilo, about a 70% chance of rain over in Hilo tomorrow. The northern portions of Hawaii Island, of course, windy. Some wind gusts getting closer to 35 miles per hour. You can see in our First Alert Futurecast as we're going forward, you see a lot of green out there. This is just a better chance for some showers across the island chain. A weak front moving in Sunday and Monday, giving us a better chance again for windward rainfall. That's going to stick around throughout Monday and Tuesday, giving us better chance for showers over on the windward portions of Hawaii Island and also over Maui as well. Not so much of a chance for heavy rainfall over Oahu and Kauai, but we're still tracking it very closely. Our First Alert fog forecast outside, you see a bulk of the fog staying off to the southwest of Hawaii Island, still impacting the areas just downwind of Kilauea, so we're still tracking the chance for fog and lowered air quality over there, but it's away from Maui County, Oahu, and Kauai going forward, at least with these strong trade winds in the forecast. You can see in our surf and shoreline forecast again for this afternoon, we're on the rise. North-facing shores 10 to 14 feet, west-facing shores around 7 to 10, small in town around 2 to 4 feet, east-facing shores also relatively choppy. Those breezy trades are playing into every single factor of the forecast, so we're seeing choppy conditions out on those east-facing shores. Your First Alert 7-day forecast Sunday, highlighted in red. It's supposed to be breezy out there, and in the middle of next week, breezy as well.
Thank you very much, Drew. Well, lots going on this weekend, including the Honolulu Festival in Waikiki, celebrating the rich cultures of the Pacific Rim. Casey Lund reports.
Honolulu Festival is a huge cultural event, 29 years, almost 30 years of celebrating many different cultures around the Pacific Rim. And you know what's great about this year, as we've been recovering for the last 5 years from the pandemic, we're starting to see more and more participants. We're starting to see more of our neighbors from Japan coming back, being part of this, and bringing their joy, their culture, and sharing so much about what makes that a special place and the relationship with Hawaii. So great news. Ted Kubo is president of the Honolulu Festival Foundation. How are you today?
Doing wonderful, thank you.
Yeah, no stress at all, because it's not like this is a huge event with a bunch of moving parts, right?
Yes, yes, it is.
Yeah. Yep. So speaking of that, I want to mention, actually, if we could point just down the hallway here. Yep. Well, first of all, but before we do that, Ted, why don't we walk and just talk a little bit about the history of this festival. Started again almost 30 years ago, and you can walk through these different years and see all these memories, right?
Yes, it started in 1995. It started as a festival to bring the Japanese local festivals to Hawaii, but over the years it has grown from the Festival of Japan festival to Pacific celebration of the culture, heritage, people. And so it has grown so much since then.
And, we should just talk event-wise. If we can point down there, I want to show that stage. Everything's just getting set up here. So you've got the stage out front. You've got the main stage with all those performers out there. And then you've got the Ala Moana Center. There's performances kind of going on well beyond the convention center, right?
Yes, it is. In addition, there's a Waikiki Beach Walk stage as well. And this year we have way more performing groups participating than last year.
Yeah, that's what I hear.
So we used to have 3 stages, but we added one more stage here at the convention center. That's why we have 2 at the convention center.
How important is it that we gather like this and celebrate each other's? What makes us different and unique, but also what brings us all together?
Yes. Everything about the festival has meanings, and I think the most important one is the cultural exchange aspect to to interact with the different cultures so that it gains the different culture and a deeper understanding of the one another.
And we, I think, need that now more than ever. And Ted Kuba, I appreciate the work that you do. I know it's a big job, and I know you have a lot of folks that helps. The volunteer is hugely important to this.
Yes, without the volunteers during the festival, we wouldn't have be able to host the festival. So thanks to all the volunteers.
Yeah,
yes.
They're coming through here. They're wearing these gold shirts. If you see them when you're here, thank them because it takes a lot of work. Ted, thank you so much. I'll let you get back to it. I want to remind you that the festival kicks off right here. This is really the epicenter of the Honolulu Festival at the Convention Center. But like Ted said, it's all over the place, including down Kalakaua Avenue for the parade, and then wrapping up at 8:30 with the fireworks show, the Nagaoka fireworks show over Waikiki Beach. A stunning, stunning picture there. A lot of fun happening this weekend. You got to check it out. More details online at hawaiinewsnow.com. We'll send things back into the studio for now.
Welcome back. A longtime Big Island educator got quite the send-off this week. After more than 4 decades, Charles Manning is calling it a career. Stephanie Lum has his story.
Charles Manning was not expecting a hallway filled with screaming students and staff at Pahoa High School last Friday.
I was in total disbelief and shock. I figured when I opened the door, I overlook a courtyard, there would be a few students, a few teachers.
Instead of just a few, a lot of people came out, some with signs to hug the beloved social studies teacher one last time.
And as it progressed, I can't tell you how many times I cried and how many students I saw, and even ex-students showed up. So it was just overwhelming, and I was just, you know, I didn't know what to say.
The 67-year-old is retiring after 44 years at the State Department of Education. He spent 42 of those years here in Puna, teaching the Proud Daggers. And he's leaving quite a legacy.
One of my greatest highlights was when I actually started or helped starting girls wrestling here at Pahoa High School and in the state of Hawaii.
As wrestling coach in the 1980s, Manning encouraged two girls, Sarah Visaya and Sandy Evangelista, to be the first in the islands to try the sport. Visaya is this woman, Ivalani Wu O'Brien's daughter, who made Hawaii sports history.
They were powerful coaches that gave my daughter her self-worth and self-esteem back. You can go in there, I know it's boys, but you can do this.
She was the first girl to ever pin a boy on the Big Island, and it was front page news.
Manning didn't plan to retire, but a cancer diagnosis shifted his focus on his family. His son was there with him for his last day on campus.
School starts to sing the alma mater, and that's where me and my dad both kind of started to cry because we did not expect that.
People would ask me, well, why do you stay at Pahoa? And I said, at Pahoa, I can make an impact. And so I think I did.
And happy retirement to him. A gray fox who was rescued from a fire and treated for burns was released back into the wild. The fox spent more than 5 months at the San Diego Humane Society's treatment center for burns on his paws. He suffered back in September. San Diego Humane Society's Project Wildlife program gives more than 10,000 injured orphans and sick wild animals a second chance each year.
And finally, rookie jerseys worn by Michael Jordan and Kobe Bryant could haul in a nice return when they go up for auction this spring. The basketball legends wore the jerseys in the first NBA games of their careers. The jerseys will be exhibited to the public at Sotheby's in New York till March 21st, and we're told they are expected to sell for $10 million a piece, which is very fitting, right?
Yeah, small chunk of change, you know.
You try to look for some Jordans, you try to look for some Kobe sneakers on the market, you're still paying a high price too.
Get the jerseys for millions of dollars.
Happy Aloha Friday.